Okay, hey everyone, welcome back. So today was a pretty busy day. Miners were down for the most part, except for a couple were in the green actually today. We had the Fed obviously meeting today. The Feds stayed flat basically on their rate cuts, didn't cut anything, didn't increase anything. They're staying where they are right now for the time being. They sounded a little bit hawkish, not too bad though. They have obviously some concerns, but I think that's all fine. Market's pretty much, I think, priced that in today. Bitcoin was up just a little bit. Ethereum was down today. We had obviously Microsoft reporting today, Tesla reporting today, Meta reporting as well. There was a lot of stuff happening in there. We'll go over those really quick. We're not going to get into the details as far as what they completely reported, but we'll just get into the highlights on those guys. There's some interesting stuff here through Meta, also Microsoft, and through Tesla there. We also have potentially good news update for IREN, and then we also have a lawsuit against Bitdeer that we'll discuss here. And then we get into Q&A at the end of that. So let's get into it all here, but we got to go relatively quickly because there's a lot to cover. So as always, not financial advice, return only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, as you guys know. And let's take a look at what happened here today with Bitcoin, our miners, and everything else. So Bitcoin, I'm looking at the 1 hour chart here. Let's go to the daily chart here. We can see Bitcoin was up just a little bit today. It was up 0.05%. It did have a bounce here above the 50 SMA. Couldn't hold it there. I think eventually we'll bounce off of that. But right now we just couldn't hold it. So that's okay. Overall, I did pretty well today nonetheless. Markets were mixed today. Dow Jones was up a little bit. NASDAQ was up a little bit. S&P was down just 0.01%. Russell was down 0.5% there. And Ethereum was down today a little bit. It was down 0.5%, also 0.52%. Miners today, they were, like I said, pretty much mixed. Down a little bit, up a little bit, but nothing major here. So Bitfarms was flat on the day. Bitdeer was down 2.92%. King was down 2.92% also. Cypher was up 1.17% there. Cleanspark was up 1.36% as well. That one kind of battled with the 100 SMA slightly. CORZ is down 2.26% there. Hive was down 2.96%. That one is still kind of battling with that 200 SMA there, I think, as well. 50 SMA. Sorry, it's a 50 SMA on that one. Hut 8 was up 4.46%. This might be a new high for it. Yeah, I think it got to a new high on that one, 64.60. Or 66.07 was a new high for it. IREN today was up also 4.92%. Mara was down 1.43%. Riot was flat. Wolf was down 1.31%. The Bitcoin holding companies here were all in the red here, with Exodus being down the most, being down 7.43%. Small miners here, if we look at those, mixed, well, 2/3 were in the green, 1/3 was in the green, 2/3 were in the red here. Any was up just 1%, Argo was up 3.62%, and then Mawson was down 4.9% there. The Bitcoin miner ETFs here in the green for the most part, a little bit at least. Big winner here today was WGMI being up 0.92% out of the bunch there. Ethereum holding companies were for the most part in the red, except for BMNR being up 1.02%. Everybody else was down 2.7, 3.2, 4.7 for Game, and SBET was down 0.2. Other companies that we track here as well. American Bitcoin was down 1.89. Wi-Fi was up 2.59% there. Open was down 0.86. Oracle was down 1.2. Nibius was up 2.62%. Soluna was down 5.93%. BAC was down 2.95. Fermi was up 3.86. Meta was down here. I'm not sure where they are after hours right now after reporting, but they were down 0.63%. Google was up 0.38%. Amazon was down 0.68%. Microsoft was up 0.22%. NVIDIA up 1.59%. EOS was up huge today, 11.13%. Definitely gaining back some of those losses from yesterday. And UAI was up just a little bit, 1.05% there. So mixed day in the markets overall. As far as the miners here after hours, for the most part, I think they're all in the red here. Last time I checked was about 15 minutes ago. They were in the red here. Bitdeer was down 1%. Bitfarms here right now is actually up 0.77%. So that one kind of changed here. Kango is up 3%. Cypher right now, let's see, that's still down 0.63%. Cleanspark at the moment is down 1.04%. CORZ Scientific is down 1.49%. Hive Digital is down 1.02%. Hut 8 is down 0.7%, 7.1 actually. IREN is down 1.24%. Mara right now is down 0.96. Riot, if you look at that one quickly, down 0.46, and TeraWolf is down 0.93% here. So I'm kind of glad that they're down after hours or pre-hours. Sometimes it means they're going to have a pretty good day the next day. Not always, but sometimes. All right, Bitcoin for the month of January. We got, what do we have? 2 more days left to go. Thursday and Friday, and the month is over with here. We're up just a teeny weeny bit on Bitcoin right now. We're up 0.94%, less than 1%. It'll be interesting to see if we squeak out a green month or a red month here on Bitcoin here. But we'll keep an eye on that one. Bitcoin ETF inflows, outflows. We had outflows yesterday of 147.4 million. And then Bitcoin's down right now, or the ETFs are down 5.4 million right now as it is, without IBIT BlackRock reporting there. All right, some of the news stories that we do have here. This from the Kobesi letter. Breaking spot gold prices extend gains to up $500 an ounce over the last 72 hours. Now above a record of 5,500 per ounce. Gold just added 3.5 trillion of market cap in 72 hours. That is roughly what, like 2x of Bitcoin's market cap, right? So that's just crazy that the Bitcoin's entire market cap was added twice basically in the last 72 hours into gold. Imagine what happens when that rotation happens from gold probably to equities and maybe Bitcoin as well at that point when it does finally top out here and people start selling here. In the interim, I think it's mostly driven by, governments buying up Bitcoin here and things like, or not Bitcoin, but gold. We can see that here. This is from Global Markets Investor. China is dumping U.S. Treasuries and loading up on gold. So China's gold reserves hit 74.1 million ounces, an all-time high for them. At the same time, China's holding of U.S. Treasuries plunged to 682.6 billion, the lowest in 18 years, right? There's that tension between the United States and China. This is what's contributing to it. China has slashed its treasury position by over 600 billion since the 2013 peak. At the same time, the country's gold reserves more than doubled. China is actively diversifying away from the dollar-dominated asset into hard assets. I expect this trend to accelerate. I think so as well. Eventually, people that were holding onto gold, which might be, regular investors, could be also hedge funds, things like that, whatever they're, diversified into gold, they may eventually start selling out and buying into other things here. When that's going to happen here, we don't know. But that's what happens when you have tension and countries don't look favorably against the United States, I guess. And that's a result you're going to see here playing out. Okay. Next here we got this. Bitcoin is up 429% since 2022, far outpacing gold, silver, and stocks. People seem to forget. This is from Eric, I can't pronounce his name. I'm going to call him Eric B. from Bloomberg there. And yeah, sometimes you have to zoom out a little bit to see where things are now compared to where they were. If you zoom out far enough, you're going to obviously see that Bitcoin still has done very, very well against all of these things here. Is that going to continue going forward? I expect it to continue going forward. It's going to be, I think, just a slower gains, right, over time here. And Bitcoin, as the price obviously gets much higher in value, it's just you're going to have less volatility. All of those things are going to come into play at that point. So zoom out sometimes, right? It always helps. Next, this is from the Kobesi letter as well. Global memory chip prices are skyrocketing. Dynamic random access memory, DRAM, spot prices are up to a record average of $30. In fact, average spot prices for 16 gigabyte DDR4 are now up 2,352% year over year to $76.90 there. At the same time, 8 gigabyte DDR prices surged 1,873% year over year to $28.9. And the 8 gigabyte LLLP DDR4 prices are up 752% year over year, while 16 gigabyte DDR5 prices are up 647% year over year. So even contract prices set through long-term agreements are up 60% year over year and are expected to surge another 100% on average in 2026. A global memory chip shortage sending prices exponentially higher. Yeah, so that's a concern here, especially when we're talking about AI. You need a lot of memory, right? Dynamic random access memory, DRAM. For the AI to work, that's where a lot of the stuff is being basically generated and things like that is in the DRAM as well. And you need a lot of it. So that's a concern there. Elon also talked about that today on his conference call for their quarterly results. He said that one of the constraints that they're seeing here is random access memory, DRAM, in about 3 years or so. So they're already talking about possibly building fabs, unfortunately, to combat this if this doesn't get remedied here in the next couple of years. They're already buying up as much as they can, not only for their own use, for their own AI chips and computing that they need for obviously Optimus robots as well, cars that they're building, all that stuff. So that's all very, very much in high demand right now for AI. So that's a little concerning. Hopefully we do get some more fabs online within the next couple of years, and they can help alleviate some of this pressure that we're seeing obviously on this here, because that's obviously going to increase the price of everything else that has DRAM in it, or things like that. Okay, so keep an eye on that. That's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, the companies that are creating DRAM are doing pretty good here right now in the markets. As a result of that, we're also seeing obviously gold miners and silver miners. Those guys are probably going to catch a nice bid here coming up when they start reporting results for how much their revenues are going up and everything else. So you might see that happening also. Next year we have something good possibly on IREN here. This is from McNally Money and Company there. Sweetwater is officially under construction. I guess this was updated on their website here. So that's great news that Sweetwater is under construction. Not sure what they're doing, whether it's just earth grading, things like that, getting stuff ready for possible data centers to be built out later on, or it could be also that they're getting their substations energized, things like that, whatever that might mean, right? But still, it's good news there. It is under construction there, so that's good to see that progressing as well. All right, now some of the stocks that have reported obviously today, the quarterly results. Meta here, we got some things to talk about here. So Meta stock climbs on Q4 earnings beats, plans to spend as much as $135 billion on AI build out in 2026. That is very, very impressive there. They're obviously getting heavily into it as well. And we're seeing it from not only them, but from also other companies that are in AI right now, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all of those guys are looking to spend, billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars combined together. But Meta announced its fourth quarter earnings on Wednesday, topping analyst expectations on the top end and bottom lines. The company also provided its 2026 capital expenditures guidance, saying it anticipates spending between $115 billion and $135 billion in 2026, up from the $72.22 billion the company spent in 2025. So that is almost a double there on the high end side of things if they do that. And they have been on obviously a build out spree and hiring spree when it comes to AI scientists, all that stuff. And they're just going to continue that going forward here. They see what AI has potential to do going forward. So I don't expect that stopping anytime soon here. And then Meta obviously jumped as much as 10% following the news. In Q4, Meta reported earnings per share of $8.88 on revenue of $59.9 billion, ahead of the $8.16 and $58.4 billion analysts were expecting based on Bloomberg analyst consensus estimates there. So they beat obviously the numbers there, which was good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. There isn't. But the good thing is they're definitely going to be spending a heck of a lot of capital here in 2026 to build out. And if there's a couple ways they could go about it. They could go about it the way that they have been in the past, getting their own sites and getting megawatts that way. But if you want access quickly, you got basically the miners here right now that have access to high amounts of electricity and relatively quickly too, within the next year to 2 years. So we might definitely see some more deals happening with Meta and the miners there going forward. I think Meta signed a deal with Hut 8, if I'm not mistaken, right? Was that the one? Was it? Or no, was it Anthropic that signed a deal? There's so many deals going around. I'd have to look at my notes. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I thought they signed a deal with somebody. All right, so there's Meta really quick. So that was good news, obviously. That should keep the AI stock still going strong there. And then Microsoft Q2 earnings beat on top and bottom lines as cloud revenues top $50 billion. But stock falls a little bit here. So Microsoft reported second quarter earnings after the bell on Wednesday, beating Wall Street estimates on top and bottom lines with cloud revenue topping $50 billion for the first time. That is huge. The company stock fell more than 4% on news. We are, this is a quote here, I believe, we are only at the beginning phases of AI diffusion. In a way, Microsoft has built an AI business that is larger than some of the biggest franchises, CEO Satya Nadella said in a statement, which is true. Right? We are pushing the frontier across our entire AI stack to drive new value for our customers and partners, which is great there. But let's see here. But it's come down from those highs. So it's obviously gone up to a 4 trillion mark in July. But it's come down from those highs as investors continue to raise concerns about the AI industry's massive spending. Okay, you need to build out sometimes in order to, you need to grow in order to get revenues from that stuff. Just like they built out their AI, their cloud, their compute, everything else. That was also pretty pricey there, but this obviously more pricey. But in the end justifies the means, I guess you could say. They will be generating more revenue based on that going forward there. In Q2, earnings per share of $5.16 on revenue of $81.27 billion, topped the $3.92 and $80.3 billion Wall Street estimates. And then Microsoft Cloud revenue came in at $51.5 billion, just ahead of the expected $51.2. The company reported cloud revenue of $40.9 billion in the same period last year. So, I mean, that's a $10 billion increase there, more or less, on that one, which was great. And then Microsoft continues to face face AI capacity constraints, meaning customer demand for AI is outpacing Microsoft's ability to supply it, putting an artificial cap on Windows makers' revenue, right? So that's why they're spending a lot of capital, is because there's just so much demand for it. So I'm not sure why investors are, not liking the investment. You're going to get something for it. You're going to get data centers, whatnot, whatever else they're doing, right? And you're going to get revenues from that going forward here. And if there's such huge demand for it, you should be all for it to continue going forward there. That's also why the company is pouring billions more into capital expenditures, which hit $37.5 billion in the quarter, up from $22.6 billion in the second quarter of 2025. So I think that's up from the 2024 period there, or maybe 2025. So yeah, I mean that $37 billion. So that's roughly $140 billion in expenditures, roughly, more or less, to build out AI, continuing going forward on their expenditure side of things here. So that's great news there. Last here but not least, we got Tesla here. Also, Tesla reported today. Tesla stock climbs in Q4 earnings, beat Optimus robots on track for end of year production. We'll see if that happens. That would be awesome. I think it's going to be a huge revenue generator for them going forward. But Tesla reported fourth quarter earnings that topped estimates after the bell on Wednesday. The company also said its Optimus robots were on track for end of the year start of production. So let's just say it might be first quarter of 2027, second quarter of 2027, somewhere around there. If they get it in the fourth quarter, that's going to be huge. They can live up to that. For the quarter, Tesla reported revenue of $24.9 billion versus $25.11 billion estimated, a 2.4% drop from a year ago. Tesla posted adjusted earnings per share of 50 cents versus 45 expected, with operating income of $1.41 billion versus $1.32 billion estimate. And Tesla Q4 gross margin came in better than expected at 20.1% versus 17.1%, so that was good there. And then this is a quote here. Preparations continue in North America for production ramps of Tesla Semi and Cybercab, both commencing the first half of 2026, and production of the next generation Roadster. The company said in its shareholder deck, adding that it will ramp up 6 new production lines across all its products. So finally, the Roadster is getting close to being a reality here. It's been, what has it been, like 6-7 years since they unveiled that. And now it's finally coming to fruition maybe. So that's going to be kind of nice there. I'm sure they have a lot of people that are trying to get it. Some have probably gotten something else in the meantime, but that's going to be interesting to see how that one works out for them. And then also Tesla said it plans to unveil Optimus version 3 in Q1 of this year, with start production planned before the end of 2026 and eventual planned capacity of 1 million robots per year there. Okay, so that's awesome. This was a kind of a shock here for me. This is a quote from Elon Musk there. This is what he says. It's time to bring the Model X and S programs to an end with an honorable discharge. I'm a little sad to see those go because I thought those were some of their better looking cars there, especially the Model S. I thought it was a little bit more comparable to like Mercedes-Benz or something like that with the interior. No, I never had one of those, but just from videos that I've seen, some of the newer models that were coming out of the Model S looked actually really nice on the inside. So I'm a little sad to see those go because I was maybe hoping that one of these days when I become a multi-millionaire, I could actually afford one of those. So maybe I'll have to buy a used one at that point, or maybe they come out with something better. I don't know. We'll see. Adding that the production lines for those products will be for the Optimus robots. So I can see the reasoning for that there, right? Those are higher priced. They probably sell less of those. So if they can change those out for Optimus, which is going to be possibly a really strong seller for them going forward, might make sense to do that. Tesla also noted it removed the safety driver from customer rides on a limited basis for its robotaxi service in Austin, but didn't give a timeline for when they would be all removed. In terms of new metro areas, Tesla noted Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Las Vegas would be targeted for robotaxi service in the first half of 2026. So that's great. And then Tesla said full self-driving subscriptions doubled in 2025, and it is still pursuing regulatory approval in China and Europe. Tesla reported at the end of 2025 it had 1.1 million FSD subscribers there. So that was pretty good there. And then last but not least, Tesla also said it would invest $2 billion in preferred shares of XAI, Elon Musk's AI startup that owns X.com there. So that's kind of interesting there as well, that they are investing in XAI. I think they noted also that Grok is used, I think it's internally by Tesla, maybe even in Tesla vehicles somehow. I thought I heard that during the conference call. But I wouldn't be surprised eventually if Tesla just outright buys XAI possibly out. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happening because XAI obviously has really good models for AI models, and having the robo taxis, yes, but also the Optimus robots having access to that information, that data, that AI models and everything else is, I think, going to be pretty important there. So maybe in time they will buy it, maybe not. Maybe XAI goes public by itself. Who knows? They just have a agreement between the two companies that they can use it or something like that. Not sure there. Gonna definitely be keeping an eye on that one though. But yeah, everything else is looking good here on that one. Was it Musk? Did he say that they're still? No, he didn't. I'm thinking of another interview that I saw with him. It wasn't on today's conference call. So there's all the stuff that's happening here in the space right now. Overall, pretty busy day, but a lot of good news here nonetheless here. With Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, all those guys are trying to build out as fast as they can for AI as well and get access to megawatts and data centers and all that stuff. So things are looking good. All right, last but not least here, we're going to talk about Bitdeer. I just found this out today, so that's why I'm sharing it today. I think this has been probably since, it's been since December 4th here, but Bitdeer is being sued with a class action lawsuit, I think. Yeah. So here's the overview. A class action lawsuit has been filed against Bitdeer Technologies Group and certain of the company's senior executive officers alleging violations of the federal securities laws. The Bitdeer lawsuit is brought on behalf of all persons, entities who purchased or otherwise acquired Bitdeer securities between June 6, 2024 and November 10th, 2025, both dates inclusive the class period. Investors have until February 2nd, 2026 to seek appointment as lead plaintiff of the Bitdeer class action lawsuit. So this is just the start of it, I guess. You got another 4 days if you want to take part in this. I'll give you guys my thoughts on this in a second there. But the lawsuit alleges that Bitdeer and its executive misled investors regarding the company's mass production of its fourth generation seal miner A4 rigs using the company's SEAL04 chips. Throughout the class period, defendants continually reiterate that the SEAL04 research and development remained on track to achieve chip efficiency for use in the seal miner A4 machines, with mass production expected in second quarter of 2025. The lawsuit alleges that in reality, however, there were issues with the SEAL04 chip design progress, causing R&D to delay and change production. Okay, yeah, so we definitely saw that, but that was just a timeline that they were targeting. So here's my take on it. They provided a timeline of, their kind of roadmap for getting these SEAL01, seal miner 01, seal miner 02, 03, and then 04 chips out. And to me, that was just a timeline, right? I knew that timeline was probably not going to happen. I think I even commented at that point when they provided that timeline, which was it last year or the year before? I can't remember exactly when. Probably in 2024. I said that those are pretty aggressive timelines of getting down to 5 joules per terahash efficiency on these things. I said it at that time. I said I would be impressed if they are able to get down that low, because it is just such a huge improvement from where we were in 2024, right? We were at 17 joules per terahash on some of the ASICs were coming out here. So that is a really, really huge improvement, is what I'm saying. But I was skeptical that would be able to happen. If they did get to that, it'd be great, fantastic. But you got to be a little bit skeptical there. So my whole viewpoint on this has always been investors should know that there is always risk when you're investing in companies that are growing, that are researching and developing improved technologies, things like that, whatever it might be. There's always inherent risks with that. And if they can't, meet the timelines that they were talking about, possibly, they could be up to that certain point where they're going, yeah, we think we can still do this. And then they get the first wafer, test wafer back, and they're seeing issues with it or something like that. Well, then you got to go back to the drawing board. You got to redo the wafers a little bit, fix things, and things get prolonged out a little bit, right? Not a big deal. I don't see that as a big deal. But some people are just sticklers for details, and if they said they're going to do this, they got to do this, and if they're not, then it's obviously breaching, whatever it is. I think it's more you got to take ownership of your investments, right? This doesn't look like it was just done in bad faith. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Okay. Continue on here. The truth emerged on November 10th when Bitdeer announced third quarter 2025 financial results that resulted in a net loss of $266.7 million. And the company's second generation SEAL, so this would have been second generation SEAL04 chip, would be significantly delayed, and mass production of the SEAL04 rigs was now targeted to begin in the first quarter of 2026. As a result, the price of the Bitdeer stock declined from a closing market price of $17.65 per share on November 10th to $15.02 per share on November 11th, 2021, a decline of 14%. Really, are they really complaining about 14% decline on that? Because I think the stock has actually gone down more than that since then. Let's see if we take a look at it here. Where's Bitdeer right now? Bitdeer is trading at, let's see, Bitfarms, 1397. Yeah, so I mean, if we got on November, so they're saying in November, I mean, they probably should have used a price point somewhere back here where it was at $27 on October 2025. They probably should have used that price because that was at 27. So even still, if you go down, 50%, it is not out of ordinary for these things to go down that much. So, yeah. Closing market price. So this was as of, let's see, rigs now to do quarter between the result. Okay, on November 10th, 1765 to 1502 per share, November 11th. So they're saying in just one day it went down 14%, and they're complaining about that. Come on, people need to grow up. That's just my take on it. This seems to me like it's frivolous, but I'm not an attorney or anything like that, so take it for what it's worth. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, that this is something that's out there. I think it'll probably get kicked out. I think, could be wrong, but who knows? All right, that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Let's get into Q&A here. We'll call it a day. Other than that, those are other news on the miners, at least not right now. We're still waiting, obviously, for deals to come through for some of these guys. We'll definitely talk about it when it does happen here. But let's get into Q&A, and we'll call it a day. All right. Let's see. Mark Fun asks, anyone else worried about war and conflict and crash? Probably should have done a poll on that. I think I responded to you. I'm not too worried about it right now. We'll see how things go. Let's see. Rob already reached out to you on that, on the comments there, on the links. Let's see. John already reached out to you as well in the comments. Who else are here? Okay, let's see. Rob says, hi, Seb. I just sent the link of the very short clip to your email address. 5-second video. Let me see if we can pull this up here on my phone. Let's see what it is that you're trying to send me. Oh, where's my email? There it is. Got to switch over to, I don't have it here on this one. All right, I'll have to do it on my other phone because I don't have the YouTube email on here. I'll take a look at it later on. But thank you for sending that to me. I'll take a look at it. Roger says, this looks like an epic setup for an AI bubble to pop. Why would you think that? Companies are making, well, they're generating revenue from AI right now as it is. You got Anthropic generating quite a bit of revenue there. You got OpenAI also increasing their revenues. Google's obviously been on a tear recently from their AI initiatives and everything else they're working on. So I don't see a bubble there. I mean, demand is pent up, and you got to build out to fill that demand, right? Supply and demand. Okay. Honda LG. If you go to IREN's website to Location Plus, click on Sweetwater, then go to the bottom of the page. They have a few photos that looks like construction on the site. Oh, well, let's do that then. Let's take a look at it here. Hold on. IREN. Nope, I don't want to go to IREN Tools. I want to go here, I believe. There it is. Okay, let's see. You said that was under, what was that under? Location Plus, click on Sweetwater. Okay, Locations Plus, Sweetwater, under construction. Down towards the bottom of the page, they have some. Okay, let's take a look at the image. Can we look at the images? Let's take a look at those. Let's go here. Okay, so this is Sweetwater data centers, right? Sweetwater 1, Sweetwater 2. 2026 energization here. Under construction. Power capacity 1.4 gigawatts basically. 1,300 acres. And then this is the gallery. I'm guessing this is all of that's involved here. So this is their substation there. Okay. That looks like in pretty good shape. I guess this is all the land that they have over here. And then some maybe. Some more pictures of the substation there. Ooh, and we got stuff happening here. Yeah, we got some type of a structure going up here. I don't think this is going to be the actual data center. I think this is more for like warehouse, things like that, possibly to house things while they're building stuff out here. But yeah, that is progressing here. So that's awesome to see. You can see it over here, I think, partially on that. The rest is the same. All right, so they do have some stuff going up here. So that's awesome, right? IREN is executing like we thought they're going to execute. They're just plowing through this stuff and getting stuff installed. That's awesome. They're getting stuff built at least. And then 1.5 4 gigawatts of power can be utilized for AI and going to make us all very, very rich, potentially, if they get some good deals, which I don't think they're going to have a problem doing that, but we'll see. Okay, let's go back to Q&A. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Midwest Island here. Which rumor seems more realistic, XAI, Anthropic, or Amazon? I mean, it could be really any one of those three. It could be all three altogether also. All of those guys are trying to get megawatts here. So, and IREN's got a lot of megawatts coming online here this year. So it could be anybody. John, thank you so much for the thumbs up there. Gary says Google. It could be Google too, but that would be more through Anthropic, I think, right? Google's backing them there, I think. But it could be also Google by itself. All right, Begney here. Already got Cypher and IREN looking to buy more Bitfarms. I think they are the third best when it comes to AI, but I do fear that they will raise funds soon. I don't think they have to raise funds soon. I mean, they have roughly, last reported was around $1 billion in cash and things like that. So they should be in good shape right now to build out their location in Washington State. I don't think they're going to need any funds to do that right now, but if they get a deal with somebody for whatever the megawatts is going to be there, they may have to actually get some either convertible notes or a loan or something like that, which they could do as well. Gary says, exactly why I invest in management teams. I trust IREN because they deliver on projections. Mara never delivers on the timelines. Only invest in the trust if you trust the management consistently matters. I agree with you there as well. Management is a big deal there. Execution, but sometimes you don't know things until you let it play out for a little while, which was the case with IREN, right? For me at least, because I was watching them since 2021. Almost got into them in 2022. I've said this many times before, but there's obviously something that happened there, and I just wanted to see how they get out of it, and they did a fantastic job getting out of it. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on the management teams there. Benny says, my thinking is IREN and Cypher will double this year, and then Bitfarms will make its own run. It is a possibility. IREN, the only thing is Bitfarms has much less megawatts available for this year, more so into 2027 and into 2028 with their sites in Pennsylvania. So that's kind of where we might have it play out that way. If they can get the PJM market to approve the increased megawatts that they want to get, right? If they get that, then I think it'll be a good thing for them. Which right now we don't think is going to be an issue, but you never know. All right. Gerald says, Tesla CapEx spend is impressive, building 6 new plants alone. Yeah, I mean, what did they report? They reported that they did the, what is it? Not the rare earth. Godly, what was it? To make the batteries. The plant that takes in the minerals and, what is that called? I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But I think you know what I mean. Yeah, they've done a fantastic job building out the stuff that they need. Obviously, battery plants as well for manufacturing batteries. The lithium plant, right, that they built out because they needed to do it. So, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually build out a fab to build their own chips and their own DRAM if need be. If they see a constraint on it and they want to build the number of Optimus robots that they want to build per year, you're going to need a lot of chips and a lot of DRAM as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We know that Taiwanese Semiconductor is building out more buildings in Arizona. Intel's supposed to be building out some more. AMD, I believe, is also looking to build out. So we got fabs coming online. It's just, can they produce enough for not only what Tesla needs, but also for what everybody else needs? That's the big question there. And if they can't, Tesla might have to go in and go, okay, well, we're going to build our own fabs there at that point. Daryl, question, who would you currently buy more shares of? Bitdeer, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, or Riot? Oh, gosh. Okay, so this would be based on megawatts here. So if we're looking at megawatts, I would say it would probably be Bitdeer at this point right now because they do have a lot of megawatts that's going to be coming online later on this year and into next year as well. And they're also looking to transition to some of their sites in the United States for AI as well as in other countries. The only thing is, like I've said before, you guys know my reasoning why I haven't gotten into Bitfarm or Bitdeer. Them not being U.S. based, right? I don't know if that's going to be an impediment to them going up higher. or doing as well as like IREN or Cypher or some of those other guys, Terrawolf as well. Right? I don't know if that's going to be a cause of it. Bitfarms, I think Bitfarms should be valued much higher as it is right now. Gosh. And then Cleanspark, same thing. Riot, obviously got a small deal here recently. They also have a lot of megawatts available. I mean, it's a hit or miss. It just depends on who gets a deal, sizable deal signed first, right? I think they'll catapult the ones there. But they all have, obviously, growth potential when it comes to AI. Bitfarms has the sites in Pennsylvania. Those are great. They get the megawatts there. They can build out in 2027 and 2028. Cleanspark obviously has been pretty active in getting sites as well in Texas here recently. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell which one's going to do very, very well. Diversify, I guess, not financial advice. All right. Gary asks, was that a swimming pool on the new IREN site? No, it was just some tarps, I think, out there. All right, so you're saying buy more IREN and Cypher instead of Bitfarms this year? Well, I'm not saying that because, like I said, they could come out with a deal before their site is built up in Washington. You just never know. I own Cypher, I own Bitfarms, I own IREN, obviously, and I also own Cleanspark there. So, I mean, it's anybody's guess, right? I think IREN has the most potential because they have a lot of megawatts coming online this year. If they can get those monetized with deals, then IREN could very well do 2x, 3x from where it's at right now. The others obviously can go up as well. It's a flip a coin, really. It's all going to be based on news of a deal. All right. Daryl says, I was selling a large portion of my Mara shares Monday to buy more IREN. Nice. Yeah, as you guys know, I've not been a big fan of Mara here the last couple of years. Daryl says, going to the moon on Thursday. Okay, for next week, you're saying when they do the report, that would be awesome. Pete, hi, Seba. What is your take on Mara? I'm about ready to pull a plug on them. They seem to be doing nothing for like forever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long you've been with me here, Pete, but if you go back all the way back to 2020, 2021, 2022, I've kind of laid out my case for Mara at that time, right? They were at first asset light, then they finally started getting into the data center space, buying up stuff, but they still have 35% that's not theirs. And then they've been kind of all over the place when it comes to Bitcoin, and they've been kind of trying to get into AI as well, but not really. It's kind of confusing there, and they've been doing other things, and it just doesn't seem like very focused to me. They're just trying to get their hands into anything else to see if it sticks, which I don't know is the right approach here. I think you have to be a little bit more focused, unfortunately. So then their operations have not been great. They've been up and down. They've had great months at certain points, and then they fall back down to the following months here. So it's been hit or miss with them. And then also their HODL. They have a huge HODL position, which their HODL position is not being valued really on what it's valued at. And I think that's because you have so many more on-ramps into Bitcoin than just the miners now, like we only had in the past year. So I think that was maybe bad on their part as well, to be going into becoming a Bitcoin HODL company or buying Bitcoin when you could actually mine it at a lower cost. Never liked that either. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Mara. I think they have a lot of potential. I think they need to make some changes, maybe in the front office. I don't know. That's just my take on it from what I'm seeing here, at least from 1,000 miles out. But yeah, I think they have a lot of potential, but they need to turn things around. And I don't know if they can. All right, Roger, how come we are too fixated on BTC price when all the miners are not even correlated to Bitcoin anymore? Well, we're fixated on it for a couple of reasons. Maybe some of us might own it. I own Bitcoin, so I want it to do well. The other reason might be that, like IREN is still generating all of their revenues from Bitcoin mining for the most part. That might change here when they report for, I think it's their Q2, which is our Q4. If they start reporting, good revenues on their HPCI build out that they're doing for themselves as well. That could change things. But right now they're generating a lot of their revenue still from Bitcoin mining. But that will change over time, I believe. So that also helps them build out there. Not only for them, but also for other Cypher, same thing. Cleanspark, Bitfarms, all these guys here are still generating a lot of revenue from Bitcoin mining as it is. Gary says, IREN was a no-brainer when they were selling under $2 with an 80 million market cap. I went in feeling the land alone was worth more if they went bankrupt and were sold for parts. Yeah, at that point, yeah. If you got into that low, congrats there. Beneath sell more and buy IREN and Cypher. I did that. Honestly, best decision ever. Okay. I owned Mara a little bit, right? There was a little deal that was made between me and another guy on X. He asked, he said if I buy Mara, he would buy IREN and Cypher or Cleanspark. I think at that point, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll put in $1,000 at that point. And I think he actually ended up doing better than I did with Mara. I actually came up being up 4% on it or something like that over 6 months or something like that. So I ended up selling Mara there and getting more of my other shares back. Andrea said, do you think Cleanspark and Bitfarms can get a deal before 2027? I do think so. Cleanspark was a little late to the party for AI, but I think they're going in the right direction. They hired the right people. They're getting the right companies to work with when it comes to building out. They have interest, obviously, at their Georgia locations, which those are pretty good because obviously those are in large metropolitan areas. So I think there's potential there for them. And that could be, 200 megawatts possibly for that. Let's see, Bitfarms. Bitfarms is obviously starting out much smaller. They're, 18 megawatt site in Washington. This is the one that they're working on, trying to get that to, I think, 40 megawatts. I think they can do a deal also, but probably towards the end of the year. I think both of these guys should get a deal by the end of the year. That's my thinking, at least right now. That might change if we get some other news, but right now I think that would be the case here. All right, Roger. Question is, buying Cleanspark now similar to buying Cleanspark 4 years ago when they switched to BTC mining? At that point, they were, I think, actually higher priced, if I recall correctly, on their price, because they started mining back in December of 2020 when they bought out a 100 petahash Bitcoin mining site, and then 2021, obviously, they're going gangbusters on buying up sites for Bitcoin mining. I don't know if it's the same. I think you're probably better off buying it now than you would be back then, actually. Right? I didn't start buying it until 2022 when it was like $8 a share. And a dollar cost average all the way down. And so I'm still doing pretty good on that one. Up as of today, I think I was up 160% on it still. All right. Danyar, question, is it still possible for Bitfarms to get a deal this year? I think it is. Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it is definitely possible for them to get a deal. Okay. Bevanit, Cleanspark seems behind. What's your take on it? Let's see if it goes below. I don't think it's going to go below 10. It is a little bit behind, right? It's about a year behind the other guys here. But they're also behind when it came to Bitcoin mining, getting into that. But they executed absolutely fantastically well. I'm trying to come up with adjectives for how they performed here. But right when they started out in 2021, basically with 100 petahash, and they got to being like the top 3 biggest Bitcoin miner in, what has it been, 3 years, 4 years, right? That shows you something that they can and will execute on what they want to do here. So I don't think that going into AI is going to be any more, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because you need a lot more money, but I think they can execute as well as they did in Bitcoin mining as they will in AI as well. Okay, that's kind of my theory there. All right, Benny says Mara sucks. They just don't do anything, no effort at all. They care about is paychecks. I mean, that's what a lot of people think there. Midwest Island question is, Bitfarms not having a deal has more to do with Ben? No, I don't think it has to do with Ben. I'm sure all of everybody there, and not just at Bitfarms, but every company wants to get the best deal possible for them and their shareholders. The thing with it takes time to get deals, right? They started talking about this possibly halfway through last year, I think it was, somewhere around there, is when they started really talking about it. So it's only been roughly 6 months. We've seen some deals take over a year from when the people started getting into AI and pursuing that. So it might take a little bit more longer than that, which is fine for them and for everybody else, right? It took IREN a long time to get a deal as well. We're all wondering, when is IREN going to get a deal? When is IREN going to get a deal? We're seeing Daryl get a deal. We're seeing, who was it? Galaxy get a deal. We were seeing Applied Digital get a deal, right? It's like, okay, when is IREN going to get a deal? And they finally got a deal. There's a lot of, I guess, vetting that goes on by the party that's going to be making a deal with you. So it takes time. Patience. You gotta have patience there. All right. Mortem, question. Why assume that gold and silver accumulation rotates into Bitcoin? Retail has no reason to believe Bitcoin is a store of value with strong appreciation. This cycle looks like a dud to them. I mean, you're kind of right there. You have a point. I will agree with you that you do have a point. It's like, why would you do that? Well, I think because it gains. You have retail is fueled by speculation, by greed, by poly markets and betting on sports, all that stuff here. So they're going to be looking for the best way to get a buck, return on their buck, basically. And I think that's the reason why most of it will happen for that reason. Could be wrong though, but I think that's the reason. Gary, IREN didn't even mention Bitcoin mining last report. They will be out of mining 100% once they get Horizon deal for 5 to 10. Bitcoin hurts their stock price. I wouldn't say it hurts their, well, if you compare it to other companies that have a higher valuation, then I would agree with you there. But it's done a tremendous job here the last year from where it was to where it got to the high. What was it, close to $80, maybe like 70-some odd dollars. So it's had a fantastic run here, even with Bitcoin mining, because that actually helped them fund some of the stuff here that they're doing. But yeah, eventually they will be out of it. All right, Benny, what do you think about TeraWolf at 15? Goodbye. Goodbye if they can get more deals, right? So if they can get more deals, the deals will obviously bring in more revenue there. That will obviously propel the stock up higher at that point. Not sure what their pipeline is of megawatts available to them right now. And what is that time frame for those to get built out as well? So that's something we have to actually look into. All right, Gary says, I wonder if Rex Finance anti-AI HPC beliefs is delaying Cleanspark getting a deal. I don't think so, because Rex was Rex hired on before or after Matt took over as CEO. Yeah, I don't think that's hampering it though. Roger, how come S&P 500 stock markets are also at all-time high? Isn't it risk off right now with how much gold is pumping? Yeah, it is risk off, and eventually things will go back to risk on, I believe. When that's going to happen, not sure. Whether it's later on in the year when we get some more rate cuts, possibly. It's anybody's guess here. But in time, Bitcoin has rallied. I mean, we're still not down that much from where we were at the all-time high. We are still in line with Bitcoin being down at 30 some odd percent here, which has historically happened in Bitcoin. And last cycles was much faster declines and faster pullbacks on it. If we look at it, let's see here. Here's a chart of Bitcoin as, not that one, sorry. Wanted this one over here. It's here, right? Going back here, this is the 2021 cycle here. We had a pullback here. This was like 34 some percent, 35%, something like that at that point, and then we rallied, right? There was another 30% correction here, and then we rallied up higher. You saw that back here, back here. You saw it a couple times where we did that. It was like 5 or 7 times each rally that we saw that happen. Then we run up here. This time around, it's been an extended drawdown on these things, or on Bitcoin at least. It's been an extended drawdown for the prices here. Let me see, we bottomed out here. Here it is. All right, so here's the new cycle here, right? We got to 73,000, 71,000 or something like that before the halving event. And then it took us like 5 months to freaking go down 30 some odd percent. Then we rallied. Then it took us another 4 months to go down another 30%. And then we rallied. And then we come back down another 30% roughly. And it's taken us a couple months to do that as well. So eventually we get out of these slumps here and we go up higher. But that's why I'm saying this cycle is completely different from prior cycles, is the corrections that we're seeing. The corrections are extended. They take longer time frame as compared to other cycles. But other cycles, we had a correction within a day or two down 30%, and we'd be going back up like crazy. So give it time, right? It took us a while to get out of this funk here to go up higher. It's going to take us a little while to get out of this funk here to go up higher again. Same thing over here, right? It took us a while to get out of that funk and then go up higher at that point as well. So I'm still cautiously optimistic that that will be the case. Time will only tell if I was right on it or if I was completely wrong, and you guys can call me a noob, whatever you want to call me at that point. But that's just kind of what I'm seeing, at least right now. It could be wrong on it. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. See which one did I cover here. I think I lost here a little bit. Okay, there's been a couple of comments here. I'm trying to catch up. Okay, talk about that one. Talk about that one. Okay, Gary says, boomers buy gold, their kids buy Bitcoin. Boomers' money will eventually go to their kids. Be patient. I mean, that could take years, but I think it's going to happen faster than that. Roger, how come miners are connected to the stock market, but a lot of them are down 50% from all-time high? It was just a correction that we were seeing here. Obviously, some of these guys got really, really high valuations quickly. And as a result, we saw not only Bitcoin coming down, we saw the broader market also kind of, well, not the broader market, but the broader AI space went down as well at that time. So it wasn't just the Bitcoin miners that we cover here, it was also Applied, Nibius, who else was in there? Others also went down, right? So it's kind of like a whole sector correction at that point on those guys. Daryl says, thanks again, Seth, for all your updates. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming in as always. Let's see, Rob, when you think about it, with gold and silver being at all-time highs, it's actually a good thing for the broader market, S&P and 500 NASDAQ, etc., because this rotates the money out of the broader market, thus extending their gains for the year. I mean, yeah, there's definitely some positives to it as well. People that have been in gold and silver for a long time are happy like Bitcoiners are. And those, like gold today, was acting like it was like a altcoin or something like that. It was going up and down like crazy. So I think eventually they'll come to, eventually I think it will level out. Let's see, and avoidance of major corrections in the market. Yeah, as long as we don't have major correction, we'll be good. Benny says, I think IREN can hit 100, 125 by end of year and Cypher 30 to 40. I think that's also doable, given that they get deals or something like that. Bitfarms, Benny says, Bitfarms, I can't see them going higher than $5 Canadian unless they get a deal. Yeah, I mean, I think they should be somewhere between 4 and 6 right now. If they get a deal, I could see them getting to closer to like $8, $10 at that point. But then again, depending on the deal that they have. Okay. All right. Cut up to all your guys' questions, comments, and everything else. As always, thank you so much. And I got one more from Gary coming in here. Let's see. It takes a second for that to pull up here. Gary says, oldest boomers are 80. It is already starting. Okay. I mean, yeah, technically you're probably right there. Let's see. Michael says, Sebastian, thank you. Applied will rally up like IREN and HUT. That will these two do more of a pullback. Right. Applied will rally up like IREN and HUT 8. That will, I'm not sure. Okay. That will these two do more of a pullback. Okay. Not sure about that last part there. I'm not understanding that part. But yeah, Applied will rally. Obviously, everybody else will rally. We get more and more deals happening here. All these guys are going to rally at the same time. Some more than others. Right, but it's also a good thing there. All right, as always, thank you everyone for coming in. Greatly appreciate you all. Love you all. I hope you guys have a great Thursday. We'll cover whatever happens tomorrow at that point, and we'll see where we are. Okay? Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow.